If you can show them the behind the scenes for what you do, automatically that's opening up a brand new dimension of value in your patient's mind. Does that make sense? So I'll give you a clear example. If you are doing veneer cases, you know that there's so many steps in veneers. To a patient, there's 2 steps. Treatment, the lab, actually 3. Treatment, lab, if they're lucky, if the patient's well educated on it because of you, there's 3 steps: the treatment, the lab, and the cementation. But to you and I, we know there's more than 3 steps to veneers. It's the treatment, which involves placing the margins supragingivally, subgingivally, packing 2 cords, packing 1 cord. How do you take the impression? Is it a digital impression? Is it a physical impression? Is there a pre-op? What happens when it goes to the lab? I suggest you go to the lab one day, you take your phone, and those people that have been working for you for decades, and you just film little snippets of what they've been doing. This is what happens when you decide to do veneers with us. We have a porcelain ceramist dedicated to every single tooth that we work on. They spend hours perfecting the art of making your teeth look better than real. They paint it with a paintbrush. They glaze it. They stain it. They cook it in the oven. They biscuit. They do all these things. You go to the lab and you get like 5-10 minutes of that video of every little thing they're doing. What have you done now? What have you done? You've essentially done what Daniel Hum has done. Look at the process here, you know? Look at the process. Here's the kitchen. You see, if you don't do this stuff, people are buying the product, the veneer, the crown. They are not buying what's baked into your product before it arrives. I've found the people that are selling premium products, what they do is they do this. They talk about stuff like this. We're obsessed over making the flavorful vegetable broths and stocks. Our days were and are consumed by developing fully plant-based milks, butters, and creams. They're talking about fermentation. Are you talking about fermentation when it comes to your dentistry? What's fermentation for dentists? It's the lab. It's the experience of how that thing is made. It's how they do the try-in with the crown on the stone and the model, and they look at the margin, and they smoothen it with the wheel, and they make sure that it is smooth, not to your hands, but to your tongue. Now, you know this as much as I do. The greatest sensory organ in your body that takes the greatest amount of mapping in your head is your tongue. Do y'all know that? The tongue maps the largest sensory portion in your brain. Think of this perspective. And this is a perspective you have to exemplify and talk about to your patients. If your tongue is responsible for the greatest sense of sensation that comes from your brain, you would think that whatever is in your mouth has to be perfect, right? It has to be smooth. It has to be slick. How does that happen? Well, patient, Tim, it goes beyond just what we do here in our chair. It goes to our lab. Our porcelain ceramist, our artist, he works on your tooth, and he makes that thing so impeccable that when it goes in your mouth, the greatest sensory organ in your body, your tongue, feels like it's better than your natural tooth. There's a difference. You see, now you're presenting the dentistry not like a crown. Once again, what I've noticed is that those that are selling premium products are infusing the how, the process of that product being made, they're infusing that into the product. That should be a light bulb moment for all of you. You have to infuse the process of product fabrication into the product. What many of us do, and we think we're doing this right, what many of us do is we talk about all the things we have to do. When you come in, we got to try your temporary. You got to make sure that's fine. I check your bite. And then you may have another appointment after that. We check your bite there. We make sure you're doing this. And sometimes there's an adjustment. And many times at the temporary, it comes off. So we use this type of temporary cement. Sometimes when you smile, oh my God, there's so many steps that involve the patient. There's so many steps that involve the patient when you talk about it like that. But what Daniel Hum does, he talks about all the things that they do in their garden that doesn't involve the patient or the customer or the diner, the person dining in the restaurant. It doesn't involve them. When we talk about what the lab does and we talk about all the process that happens before it goes in their mouth, it doesn't involve the patient. And you know what that makes the patient feel like? Wow, it's all being done for me. I don't have to do any of that. It's all being done for me. When you start telling the patient there's like 20 adjustments, they're like, this sucks. I gotta come in 20 times. I see the value there. I get it. I see it, but I gotta come in all the time. But when you tell the patient that the lab uses this wheel that they polish for 3 to 5 minutes on each surface of that crown, and you go into that process, it's a whole game changer. So I want you to think about the big premium services you do. What's the process that's involved there? That's outside of what you're already doing and what the patient thinks you're doing? Because I guarantee you the patient has no clue.